A couple of days ago, 3 photos of people who went missing a couple of weeks ago were found in an abandoned building. These are the photos. Sebastian Chavez, Ethan Stewart, Edward Freeman. In an attempt to find something more, detectives discovered identical photographs of the missing, nailed with rusty nails to a wall not far from an abandoned building. Organic liquids with unknown contents were found on the papers. As we found out later, they belonged to insects, which were ground into porridge and smeared on the surface of the identikit. By making the case public, the police tried to find witnesses or something that would help in the investigation. While searching for witnesses in the area, they listened to a security guard at a local hospital. Here's his story. I was about to pack my things and go home, when I saw a tall guy completely dressed in black clothes. He was wearing a cloak and a mask. There was a print of a bony jaw on the mask. This man was running from an abandoned building to another. Apparently he was looking for something. This all happened in no more than 6 to 7 minutes. As soon as he suddenly stopped wandering here and there, I went down to check, but to my surprise he disappeared. Based on the story and description of the suspect's appearance, the police made a composite photo. Here he is. Alarm calls were received at the police station 2 days ago. People were horrified to say that in the place where people disappeared and damaged sketches were hung, snakes and deadly arthropods appeared, and their numbers were significantly large, whereas before they were much smaller. These creatures were very aggressive and threw themselves at random passers-by. The police sent a patrol to search the area. They found a lot of poisonous animals there. One of the policemen was bitten by a deadly snake and was sent to the hospital. Trying to find something suitable to continue the investigation, the investigators began to scare away the creatures, and one of the people found a damaged cash register under a stone. The cassette was covered in a viscous liquid, similar to the one on the sketches. Fragments of insect bodies, their legs, wings and heads were visible. Despite serious damage to the tape, the police were able to recover a fragment of the footage. The video showed a masked subject, as well as an alleged assistant who could not be identified, since he was filming the suspect. Also, the release date was not indicated on the video. This means that this record could have been recorded earlier than the events that occurred. This is the entry. Several weeks passed, and the number of mysterious disappearances continued Recently, police were racking their brains trying to find the missing fragments of the EXE recording left by the master suspect. To this day, police cannot figure out how the master subject could be connected to the poisonous creatures around the first missing persons. No fingerprints or anything else were found on the recovered evidence or damaged tapes that would help the police solve the case. Recently, the patrol from the first scene of all the mysterious events found a broken vintage camera designed for monochrome photography and another EXE recording without subtitles in the basement of an abandoned building near the town. When examining the contents of the camera roll, police found damaged photographs of the area, graves, statues and a selfie of the suspect. Here are the photos. Turned out to be the direct beginning of a previous digital recording, then showed the master subject and an unknown operator who was never identified. Here is the recording. Several days passed when the alarming calls to the police department related to missing people died down. The patrols did not find anything special during this time, and it seemed that the strange abductions stopped, and the mysterious subject changed his appearance and disappeared, leaving no new evidence for the police. But 2 days later, at 4 a.m., heartbreaking screams of a woman were heard. The police, trying to find the person, reached an abandoned dam and concrete waste channels. Combing the area, illuminating the damp ground with flashlights, the police found a charred tree with a phone in the hollow. The condition of the phone was normal. It seemed that it had recently been put there. The police were able to easily get information from the phone. There were no security passwords or PIN codes. On the photographs in nature, police found 2 EMC records, photographs of abandoned waste trains and photographs with the image of the subject in the mask. These are the photos. The screaming woman not be found. First EXE recording captured the subject in a buggy walking along the shore of a lake. The video quality was mediocre. The description of the video was decoded from Morse code. Here are the contents of the messages. purgatory, arthropod, darkness, accomplices, betrayal, anger, spider wriggle, murder, cruelty, human, lightning, tree. Words the police have yet to decipher. The last video, which was called DMC the Sigfa, may shed light on the case and the subject himself. The recording captured the subject in the mask at the moment of attacking another unidentified person with a bladed weapon in his hands. The recording clearly shows that the defending person was also armed and was able to throw the subject in the mask bag. The further fate of the person who managed to fight off the subject in the mask remains unknown to this day. Here is the video. A few months have passed since the number of murders continued to rise. 8 people were recently reported missing. They were last seen relaxing by the river. A long tunnel led to this area. The police began their patrol, finding new clues in the rusty and old locomotives left by the masked subject. A chest was found in one of the trains, inside the charcoal combustion chamber. It had been placed there recently. Judging by the condition of the wood, despite the high humidity, the chest was in perfect condition. The contents were cut to pieces, films and reels. The police recovered the material and found nothing. The reels were empty. The second chest was found in a neighboring car, not far from the river. Traces of a struggle were found inside the car. The chest was lying next to the gearbox in the same good condition as the first chest. The chest contained 4 audio tapes, hidden by a cut-up film like the first chest found. All of them also had nothing significant except recorded noise. While making their rounds, the police found a message written in white marker on one of the carriages. You know where to find me. Whatever it is, the subject in the mask intentionally leaves messages for the police. Proceeding further into the abandoned park, they found the bodies of the Howard twins. Arlene Howard and Albert Howard were found strangled by the river, head down in the water. Entering one of the fenced-in houses, not far from the first bodies found, 3 more murdered people were found. Ceres McCoy, Kendra Massey and Brendan Haas. All showed signs of severe poisoning. Their clothes were wet. It seemed that they were trying to drown, but were dealt with in a different way. Photos of a masked individual were found around the bodies. Police believed they were taken at different times. These are the photos. Going even further, the last of the missing were found. They were found lying with broken bones in their arms and legs in the rubble of one of the houses that had collapsed due to recent bad weather. Kelvin Zamora, Alicia Riggs and Angelica Hancock were presumed to have died from shock from the broken bones, and examination revealed no evidence of poisoning. On their way back from the crime scene, police entered a short tunnel and, using flashlights, found scattered photos. These showed a masked individual and teenagers whose faces were hidden. The people in the photos could not be identified. These are the photos. The last photo showed people with their faces hidden. The police came to the conclusion that the masked man had good contact with people and blended in with the group before committing the atrocities and went to various events and parties. The motive is still unclear. There was another photo with the title Agent with Murasama. Here is the photo. Two days ago, alarming calls came in about new cases of missing people. In one of the places described by people, the body of Sebastian Chavez, who had been missing for several months, was found. The body was found in the last stage of decomposition, in the basement of one of the abandoned houses, not far from the first atrocities. An autopsy did not reveal any physical injuries. However, an extreme dose of neurotoxins of animal origin was found. In the lab, they found out that only animals from the Arthropod class can have this poison. Based on the bite mark on Sebastian's neck, it was almost impossible to identify the species and family of the alleged animal. While While searching the house, the police find several VHS tapes scattered throughout the house. One of the tapes was found in the utility room in an iron container. The second in the kitchen on the floor below behind the cabinet on the floor. The third by the cabinet for storing fire papers. The police found the last tape in the coals and ashes at the exit of the house. All the tapes were untitled. After processing the contents of each tape, the police found the remaining EXE recordings left by the subject in the mask. First recording. Second recording. Third recording. Fourth recording. None of the recordings left made any sense or messages from the person in the mask. Combing the area around the first house searched, the police find 2 more bodies, one of which belongs to the missing teenager Edward Freeman, who was also on the list of missing persons. The second body could not be identified due to the high degree of damage to the whole body. He was burned to the bones, and a can of gasoline was lying nearby. An examination showed that they both suffered from severe poisoning and internal bleeding for a long time. The symptoms were caused by a bite of a deadly arthropod, which was lying next to Edward's body. The arthropod was dead, crushed by foot. Based on the analysis and appearance of this animal, it was found that it was a spider from the actinidid family. Mouse spider. The strangest thing is that this arachnid is not inhabited in this area and is considered an exotic species. During the last inspection, the police discovered a terrible stench in the basement of one of the unfinished houses. They were found the corpses of small and medium-sized animals, rats, mice, birds, stray cats and dogs. All the animals presented with broken bones and the degree of decomposition was almost the same for all. Around this sickening sight there was a camera and photographs of the bodies of animals. The photographs show a subject in the mask and alleged accomplices. The locations of the footage were never found. Here are the photos. Now the police firmly believe that this subject is not only connected to the abducted people, but also directly connected to the assistants and the murdered victims. proven that the masked subject uses poisonous creatures for his dirty deeds, leaving no fingerprints. Towards the end of the examination, 2 more damaged tapes were found in the original house behind the glass of the covered with dishes, in which the subject in the mask was captured in close-up. Here are the videos. Police recently started looking for clues related to this photo. The public named 3 places where the subject in the mask appeared before the above-mentioned crimes. The first place, the Center of Experimental Art, where events related to cosplay and parties for a teenage audience were held more than once. The police contacted the organizers of the event, finding out that the subject in the mask visited this place and in physical contact with different people, requested all existing materials with him. This created a misunderstanding among most people, since according to them, this person was very responsive and kind, and in their opinion, he could not organize such a thing alone. The photographs show a person in a mask with different people of different ages from the first event. Here are these photos. Traumatic pistol was found in the interior of the building, no fingerprints. Nothing more significant was found except for the photographs. The police proceeded to the second location where people had seen the masked individual. A local theatre where various projects were taking place, not far from the arts centre. The theatre administration confirmed that the masked individual had come here during party announcements. After questioning people, more photos of this person were found. A heavy katana with a crimson red blade with an engraving on the handle, Urasama, was found during a search of the theatre. Drops of blood were found. Returning to the earliest events, it has now become clear that after a successful attack on the man in black, the masked individual abandoned his murder weapon, hiding it in the theatre. Unfortunately, the police had to hide the faces of the people in the frame with the killer. Here are these photos. Returning to the first place of investigation, the police learned details about him from the young cosplayers. Here's what they found out. When we first saw him, he was scared and wary. Usually, we were used to everyone coming to cosplay parties in colorful costumes, but he was completely black, except for his eyes, which occasionally blinked. We were afraid to approach him until the brave ones spoke to him first. It turned out that behind the alarming image was a very kind and sympathetic guy who decided to just come hang out with us. He called himself the Arthropod Whisperer, because he loved insects and the topic was his passion. Sometimes he brought toy swords and blades with him, and there were always people willing to fight him in a humorous manner. We remember the metal sword Urasama, which he always carried with him and had shared the photos with fans. The police are now firmly convinced that the killer always had this sword with him, and chose victims directly during or after some events. When questioning witnesses about the subject, people gave the location of an abandoned park near the river, where he was last seen. The police went under the tunnel and came out into an abandoned restaurant. Photos of the missing 13 people were found. The photos were nailed to the front doors of the restaurant. These are the photos. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, it was decided to contact Arthropod to identify and utilize the masked man. After disagreements with the Arthropod Supreme Committee, an agent with the code name E132 was sent. The committee forbade the publication of the real names of the people involved in the operation. The assignment was sent by the police to the hands of the corporation's agents, in the hopes of new leads. Edited, damaged photos of the masked man's face from an unknown sender were sent to the police email. Here are these photos. The police are trying to figure out the meaning of sending in subsequent leaks of information from these materials. A separate letter contained the damaged digitized video from the VHS tape. The video material shows a guy giving an interview. The sender of the letter was not found, as well as those participating in the interview.
Я слушал новости вчерашние. Решил прийти сюда, проверить, что здесь произошло. Пока что никак коллективно.
О чем вы думаете, кстати, об этом инциденте?
Думаю, что это страшно. Я не знал, кто это был. Я точно уверен, что надо их остерегаться. Все-таки разве можно такое делать с детьми?
Это очень странно, что полиция, имея фоторобот данного убийцы и посетителей, может найти вам местонахождение.
Говорят, что очень странно. Сказали, что мы никогда не можем знать, точно ли это он. Если связано ли с этим сама полиция.
А по вашему искреннему мнению, как убийство, в принципе, связано с жизнью самой? Почему он оставляет кровавые следы данных насекомых на фотороботах и на уликах похищенных людей?
Даже не знаю, вроде бумаги, не вроде бы нет таких, которые нет руками или есть.
It was decided to contact the committee of the Project Darkness for additional information about the object. Here is another photo that captured a subject on it who did not have a mask. The face was never identified due to poor quality. Here is this photo. The police department received a letter from the head of the Darkness Project. The letter indicated the exact date and time when the police officer received all the promised materials from the agents of the Project of Darkness. In addition to the video materials, the police had previously requested the biography of the masked man and the identification of all those third parties who appeared in the video materials of the EXE. The E132 agent During the arrival of police officer Stephen Walker at the headquarters of the Diplomatic Operations Office for investigations, and with Stephen Freeze takes number DXC1:2:3. Photos of Agent 859, who was the operator of the masked man, were also leaked. These are the photos. According to him, he was not an accomplice to all the crimes of the object and was only an operator for documenting his walk on the territory of an abandoned railway. Also, requests from the monstrous intelligence agency did not yield any results. The MIA Supreme Committee did not find anything in its archives about the masked object, which officially became known as the Arthropod charm. The head of the Darkness Project also provided a list of all the agents who were to some extent connected with the object. The 912 agent who was photographed with the object half a year ago. Agent M398 was also present during the photo shoot with the object, which at the moment had awaited Nurasana Katana, which is now stored in the educational institution of the Project of Darkness under the number 65 to 76-12. Agent R691, who was the head teacher and trainer for all agents who owned edged weapons. The biography of the masked object was also clarified. According to the head, the Arthropodcaster object was one of the agents of the Project of Darkness, who, using special tracker skills with amazing endurance and stealth, organized raids on maniacs, drug addicts, or ordinary groups of people with their own degree of threat to society. His ability to control small animals and venomous arthropods is not fully understood, as there are many theories. There is an assumption that he trained his senses and attention to small things, like the quiet sounds made by all living beings. And there is also a theory about why all poisonous creatures are subject to him, and they pose no threat to him. It is believed that he practiced and slowly increased his immunity to toxins. This explains a lot how easily he was able to kill several people, holding scorpions and spiders in his hands, plunging their chelicerant stingers into the most vulnerable places of a person. The motive for the murders of innocent victims has not yet been clarified. There is an opinion from agents of darkness that he overdosed on arthropod toxins, creating mental problems and mental confusion. Since his victims were ordinary people and were not connected with crime in society. Realizing the seriousness of the case, Agent E-132 will take responsibility for training agents and neutralizing the Arthropodcaster object, together with the police. The recruited units could not be called by contacting MIA Corporation. The head of this institution did not give additional answers and cut off the connection. Agent E-132, along with Agents 859 and R691, began preparations for the raid on the facility. The committee of the Project of Darkness considered the object unsuitable for treatment or for an attempt to recruit. Here are these videos, with the numbering of the X's, with the training of agents before the massacre of the object. letter from the head of the Darkness Project. The Darkness Project, it wasn't always called that, before it was just a corporation hunting paranormal objects, but with the arrival of a new head, the name changed to the Darkness Project. The organization itself has existed since ancient times, since the 10th century, before that they worked separately. In addition to the Darkness Project, which operates in a specific triangle, Armenia, Romania, Ukraine, and everything inside, there are also other projects in other countries to contain and utilize objects, such as MIA in Russia, an educational institution for detention and recruitment, and a special training center in America. Due to different points of view, the police and the project have been in conflict for a century, so the project is hiding in secret bases without interfering in society. But in this extreme situation, we decided that it would be better to help each other for a while, and I will send my agent to one of your employees. He will give you the tapes where the Arthropod caster appeared in the trailers before the events of the massacre and kidnappings in the frame with other employees and agents of the Project of Darkness. Also in the envelope was a flash drive with an audio message from the head of the Corporation of Darkness. This is the audio.
There's a specific reason for people to become participants of the project. We all have the blood of great giant. If I say surely, it's like the holy blood. And because of that, we all have some unique features in our DNA. For example, the person that I asked to bring you the cassettes has a faster reaction than other people. He can easily parry a bullet. As for object in the mast, he had something unbelievable. He was able to control all spiders. I believed him. But the last month, he was acting strange. He didn't find a place. After that I heard the news, I didn't pay much attention to them because of trust. One of the participants said me that Arthropod wasn't killing monsters. They were real people. And when I wanted to talk with him, show him his place, he disappeared, leaving only many little spiders behind. That's it.
A couple of months have passed since the police managed to contact the Darkness Corporation and its agents. There was no word from Agent Arthropod. The agents are preparing for an operation to neutralize and then eliminate the masked object. Agent E-132, as the head of the operation, prepared the people thoroughly. Agent R-691 conducted his investigation and revealed the damaged state of Morse's sword and its further uselessness in the operation. But Agent E-132 took the damaged sword for himself, explaining his choice by the fact that he had personal reasons to eliminate Agent Arthropod with his own hands, and with his sword. A letter was received from the MIA Corporation, containing the names of 3 stalkers, who were usually called T-890, B-576 and G-012. According to the contents of the letter, the head of the MIA sent his best stalkers to help the case to identify the location of the object in the mask. Since the level of danger was quite high, many agents arrived for the operation, including those who personally knew Arthropod before the aforementioned crimes. But a week later, an anonymous call came to the police station, horrifying in its content. New bodies were found. The police went down to the river again, where the missing people were found according to the description in the call from an unknown caller. All along the way to the destination, there were traces of a huge amount of blood. Before entering the territory of an abandoned restaurant, the body of a homeless kitten was found at the threshold. Its head was broken through. Not far from the found previous victims, in an abandoned restaurant and in unfinished houses, new ones were found. After 3 hours of searching the area, the police found 10 corpses of middle-aged men and 2 corpses of animals. In addition to the cat, the dead body of a snake was found. The first body, which belonged to Robin Hall, was found with 10 stab wounds from a kitchen knife behind a wooden shutter. The second body was found in an unfinished toilet with a collapsed roof. Tests revealed a high dose of animal neurotoxins in Tarzan Clark's blood. The third body was found in a small square building overlooking the river with high levels of plastic waste pollution. Lee Turner's body was found lying on his back with 7 stab wounds to his chest and the back over his head. The unfortunate man had been strangled before the knife attacks. The fourth body, belonging to Jim Brown, was found in another stone room on his back. The same neurotoxin as Tarzan Clark was found. No other injuries were found. The fifth body, Stanley Stewart, was found on the rocks. It was believed that the man died of hypothermia during the night, judging by his blackened body and limbs. No poison was found. The sixth body of Tim Parker was found in the third stone square structure. He was dressed warmly enough to last longer than the above-mentioned people, but the examination revealed a high dose of drugs such as amphetamine. Remaining bodies were found on the river bottom, ropes with weights consisting of rocks and other debris around their necks. Blake Gonzalez, Larry Wilson, Alex Lee and Howard Phillips were found drowned in a polluted river, with ropes and weights around their necks. The examination revealed intoxication with ethyl alcohol mixed with amphetamine. Garbage bag in the corner of one of the unfinished rooms. More dead animals were found. They were birds and small rodents. At the bottom of the bag, police found 3 VHS videotapes and 2 audio tapes with unknown contents. The police were able to recover the fragments from the VHS tapes and combine them into one video. Some referred to past events with processed photographs and video materials from unidentified locations. These videos This photo was also shown. The photo shows a species of arachnids of the genus Irresidae. Project Darkness, a corporation, answered the police questions related to the photo of the spider with information about the creature first of all. The Reseda spiders are a family of aranomorph spiders from the superfamily Irrisoidea. They are distributed throughout the Old World. The greatest diversity is represented in Africa. One species is known from Brazil. These are large, usually dark-colored spiders. They have 3 rows of eyes. The first has 2, the second has 4, and the third has 2 eyes. The back eyes are set wide apart, the front eyes are compact. The chylus are large and protruding. The sternal shield is long and narrow. The legs are thick, with a few short bristles hidden by thick hairs. The anterior arachnoid cords are widely spaced, longer and thicker than the posterior ones. They live either in burrows in the ground or in tubular webs on plants. They feed mainly on beetles, including very large and mobile ones. They are widespread mainly in deserts, semi-deserts and steppes. They often settle in large colonies. Some species are truly social spiders. The female lays a large, lens-shaped cocoon, which she guards, periodically turning it from one side to the other. The young spend the winter in the mother's burrow, where they molt several times. They have a maternal instinct that is unique among spiders. The female feeds the brood by regurgitating her own liquefied organs. After her ability to liquefy her insides is exhausted, the young leave the mother. The photographs show a separate species, Irresus colori. The black Irresus, or black fathead, is a species of spider from the Irresidae family. It is widespread in the Palearctic region, from Spain to Central Asia and the Novosibirsk region. It is listed in the Red Book of the Ryazan region in the category of rare species. In England, between 1816 and 1906, only 7 individuals of this species were found, indicating that it had completely disappeared there. At burrowing lifestyle, inhabiting beaten burrows, cracks and voids under stones. Only young individuals at the stage of dispersal and sexually mature males leave the shelter in search. The diet consists mainly of insects. They also hunt centipedes, saltbugs, scorpions, spiders, woodlies, and young lizards. The remains of food are thrown out of the hole or placed in a special hole. According to data obtained from Uzbek populations, in nature the general lifespan of females is 1.5 years, males about 8.5 months. Sexually mature stages live about 150 days, respectively. In laboratory conditions, sexually mature females live up to 2.5 years or more. Having reached sexual maturity, males leave their holes and go in search of a female. During courtship, which in some cases lasts for several hours, the male performs a peculiar dance and secretes a protein fluid that causes the female to go into a cataleptic state, after which he uses his pedicles to transfer the seminal fluid into the genital openings. If several males are nearby during courtship, a fight ensues between them. After insemination, the male lives in the female's burrow for up to 2 months. Later, the female makes a cocoon that can contain up to 80 eggs, and weaves insect skins, bits of grass, and leaves into it for camouflage, after which, for some time, guards it, warming it in the sun during the day, and taking it to the burrow at night. Later, when the time comes for the offspring to appear, she weaves a web around the entrance to the burrow and dies. During post-embryonic development, males and females go through 7 and 11 nymphal stages, respectively. Before the first molt, the nymphs develop inside the cocoon. After emerging, they spend several days attached to the dorsal side of the dead female's abdomen, feeding on the head. Dispersal occurs after the third molt, and the offspring rarely move more than 5 to 10 m from the mother's burrow. The bite of the black irises causes extremely unpleasant sensations. At the moment of the bite, sharp pain is felt, then numbness quickly sets in. After this, stiffness in movement and pain when pressing is observed in the area of the bite for 2 to 6 days. To the main question of the police, how could the object be connected with some bug at all? The answer was obvious. Almost identical habits of one and the other. All agents confirmed the version of love and attraction of the object to this particular type of spiders for their rarity, dissimilarity, habits and natural instincts. So far, the police have only 3 high-quality photographs of the object. Here are these photos. The other photographs are considered lost, and Project Darkness is not going to restore them, since the person in these photographs is not suitable for recruitment or treatment. Agent E-132 with a neutralization squad went to a classified area for further training of agents and police officers. Training, including physical training and strengthening the psyche of all agents and police officers present, such as psychological tests, were prepared for such an operation.
Whew!
During these training sessions, all agents, including the E-132, received distorted photographs of the face of the subject Arthropod. In was not possible to determine who sent them, why these photographs were sent again, and who is trying to help the Project Darkness Corporation and the police find and publicize the person of Arthropod. Here are these photographs. Corrupted video was also sent, with an unknown subject in a mask and a rusty butcher knife. Project Darkness has not made any comments regarding this mysterious subject. Here is the video. Before the main events of the series, the analog horror Arthropod Whisperer. The Project of Darkness Agency investigated various cases concerning paranormal phenomena and other agents. At the time, and more specifically a few years ago, there were cases of clashes between various unidentified individuals and agents of the Project of Darkness. One of these cases was described extremely mediocre, without further analysis. But after this incident, the mentioned agent Arthropod became unfit for service and was suspended from further participation in missions. The letter from General Fox mentioned that the subject Arthropod encountered was an important person to him. The details were kept secret for the safety of this person and his personal information. But the head of the Darkness Project released this information, assuring that it would emphasize the facts and their truthfulness. The agent's name was Bloodflower. Middle-aged, tall girl with long black hair, red tips, lithe and slender build, and green eyes. She had an incredible and indescribable love for nature, animals and all living beings. The death of animals was very hard to bear. She loved entomology and had been interested in it since childhood. There was a conflict with an arthropod that, in front of her eyes, wanted to feed a live mouse to a live bird eater to explore the power of the spider's digestive juices. The second conflict ended in a short sword fight, which was resolved by mutual understanding. But due to an incident on one of the missions, an unexpected happened. Agent Bloodflower was fatally injured during an operation to neutralize sectarians who killed animals for satanic rituals in abandoned buildings. The girl was stabbed in the chest area. The arthropod, using deadly arthropods, was able to achieve the complete neutralization of the Satanists, but unfortunately the girl's life was cut short in the hospital a few hours later. According to Agent X-017, the arthropod was very strongly attached to the Bloodflower and had the same tastes and hobbies as her, and they both had perfect technique in wielding bladed weapons, more specifically, fighting with katanas. After the death of the Bloody Flower, the arthropod still tried to maintain its sanity, but after getting bitten by carelessness, putting its hand into a container with caracat, the neurotoxic poison completely brought it out of chorea, damaging neural pathways and brain regions, completely causing it to lose its mind. He was last seen hunting for the red book spider irises in a rocky field where the first crimes were supposed to take place. Then he disappeared. The head of the Darkness Project, before announcing the loss of the Arthropod, wrote a letter with an excerpt of the story about his project. To whom the letter was sent, alas, they did not make it public. Here is the content of the letter. This is an agency for the destruction of dangerous paranormal creatures. The main word is dangerous, because there are not dangerous ones. On the contrary, we save them from the hands of people and help them survive. Our agency has a long history, dating back to the early years of our era. Although this is not accurate, the information is taken from a book written by my ancestors, the Defenders of the Light. Once upon a time, there were two giant brothers. One was very strong but did not see magic-related things. The second was weak but saw everything. Together they made a good team to survive. But once they had to split up and the creatures took advantage of this and attacked the strong one. The brother arrived late, and although he told where the creatures were, the strong man was no longer able to answer, and he fell bleeding to the ground, leaving a bloody leg. The descendants of these brothers are considered defenders of the light. They worked separately for a long time, each for himself, but at some point, they realized that it was not profitable and began to assemble small groups to neutralize the creatures. And so, it was until the newer era of the 19th and 20th centuries, when the agency appeared, although at the time it was simply called the Agency for the Neutralization of Creatures, but still did the same things as now. At the same time, we have known the names of the heads of the agency. The first is Auntie Francis, nicknamed the Half-Dead Goat, 1890 to 1940. The second is Norman Howard, nicknamed the Vulture Detective, 1940 to 1990. And the third, whom I personally found, Lupin Gorner, nicknamed the Scarlet Skeleton, 1990 to 2015. Well, I won't tell you my name, but the nickname is Golden School, and I named the agency the Darkness Project. There have been many important missions in the history of the agency. Under Ortez's leadership, 3 doppelgangers, lighthouse keepers, were neutralized in Scotland in 1900, and a creature that frightened many, Black Shaka, was removed in England. Norman was a lover of kind creatures. He found the Loch Ness Monster himself and to save his life injected the gene of invisible creatures into him, making him invisible. He also studied the poltergeist and wrote it down in the Defenders of Light book. And Lupin was lucky to live at a time when there were a lot of creatures. All the creepypastas about Slenderman, Jack, Kruger, Scream, he took up all of them, also helped as a foundation in its early years. Now he lives with a different name in another country. For my part, I've been doing small missions so far, although I've done something very great once, but that was before I got here. Now, my agency has several important sites. General Fox, with whom there is a personal history, former General Arthropod, who got here after I saw his ability to control wildlife and nature, and my assistant Diabetes, who is a creature himself, so I initially noticed dangerous ones. There's only so much I can say now. With respect, the head of the Darkness Project, Golden Skull. Several months passed as Agent Arthropod remained at large. The head of Project Darkness began assembling an expedition that had been worked on for a very long time. But for unexpected reasons, all agents including stalkers of the MIA Corporation were recalled and sent to a meeting. No details. Agent E-132 and the head of Project Darkness went to the place, leaked by an unknown object, which is officially considered to be Arthropod's assistant, and he will also be neutralized. But before setting off, alarm calls were received at the police station. The police along with the recalled agents went to an abandoned high-rise building that had remained closed for a long time. Once inside, the agents and police officers spent many hours and discovered the Arthropod headquarters. Evidence was found that supported the theory that the Arthropod used animals for its mysteries and murders. In the multi-story building, which was searched upside down, many other clues were found. Many species of all sorts of creatures were found, harmless and deadly. The Arthropod stored them in securely locked containers and had constant access to them. Most of the creatures were aggressive predators and defended themselves very fiercely from the swift eyes of the agents and police peering at them locked up. Agent X-070 hypothesized that in their normal state, these creatures would prefer to run away rather than attack humans despite their small size. But then the theory was discarded because it was already clear that the Arthropod controlled all invertebrates. The Arthropod had many species of arthropods. In individual boxes were found spiders, kept either in closed boxes or on the walls of abandoned rooms. The containers were breeding false black widows that had already laid eggs, and young were already hatching from the cocoons. There were scavengers running around on the parquet of some of the rooms, beetle bugs that were eating insect corpses. The Arthropod also kept snails, apatins and grape snails. The only non-aggressive insects were mantises of any species. To certify, agents even put them on their hands. There was no aggression. There were individuals that defended themselves from curious agents and police officers. In some boxes, baby mantises were eating each other out of hunger. Also in some boxes were caterpillars, pupae, and the butterflies themselves. Some caterpillars were crawling all over the agents. Also found were harmless bedbugs, huge tarantulas, rhinoceros beetles, crab spiders, and many other critters. The agents took containers of the creatures and released all of them without exception. Once out in a small area of trees and greenery under Agent X-070's degree, they all faced fierce attacks from hornets and bees, which stung and flew back to their hives. Some were temporarily subdued by giving honey to the flying insects. On the plot, some of the creatures showed interest mixed with aggression. All the trees and plant leaves were covered with webs of roundworms and other netting creatures. Inside one of the rooms was found a small farm of spiders of the Iresidae species, Iresus polari. Unlike all the insects listed above, Iresus lived in the very best, identical conditions to those in nature. Outside there was a stone block with the corpses of the roundworms on it. The opinion was that the Arthropod had long since neglected the other spiders, having abandoned them and cared only for the erasers. Some of the boxes in the rooms were empty or contained one or two creatures. There were exceptions, such as bronze beetles, which Arthropod gave ripe fruit and its juices. Half of all the creatures found were either aggressive or dead, and some were dead. In a small island of trees and greenery, where the humidity was maintained, lizards, fish in a small tank, snails and frogs were found. Even elements of spider cannibalism among spiders of the same species or interracial eating of each other inside containers or outdoors were observed. Searching other rooms, the agents found a dehydrated turtle, terrestrial Central Asian reptile, which the agents took with them. The turtle was given to Agent R691. The animal is in good hands. Meanwhile, the other half of the MIA agents and stalkers were finding new finds. After sneaking through the forest area, they found human remains, which could not be identified because of the extremely heavy stage of decomposition and damage all over the body. Some of the remains were in a huge anthill, which had to be destroyed with shovels and rakes. Others were found under a fallen tree. The corpse had been eaten by local animals and the bones had been scattered. When we reached the abandoned building, it became clear that someone had been living here for some time. On the way to the abandoned house, we had to scare out some bats by throwing sound grenades into the tunnels, as well as breaking down the doors of rusty vans. On entering the building and searching for the rooms, a huge number of arthropod photos were found that were taken a couple years ago. These are these photos. These photos of Arthropod and the new sword were relatively recent. A few months ago, Agent E-132 had apprehended a 25-year-old man dressed entirely in black and confused him with Arthropod, as the latter changed his costume frequently, remaining unrecognizable among detectives and police officers. He had only a black hat and long thin gloves, which were summer gloves, unlike the gloves of arthropods, and were different in their properties and sewn material. It was possible to recognize the model of a sword, clearing up another matter. A week ago, there was a theft in one of the warehouses of Project Darkness. Arthropod stole the blade because of the impossibility of returning the old weapon. The blade was meant for quick missions, and the blade was twice as light in weight as the standard blades of all agents. Also, amidst this huge pile of questions and information, it was impossible to identify this man. There was an assumption that it was the Arthropod when he came out to the people, but it could not be proved or disproved. All the agents, even though they were divided into 3 camps, their alertness was maximized. The rest of the forest area was clean and free of other shocking finds. Here are these photos from the find site. After a couple more hours, the investigation was suspended and postponed to the next day. The next day, starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, the search for Arthropod continued. An unknown masked man, codenamed Creek, sent the coordinates of the location with a photo. This is the photo. 4011-0-64N443844.59E. Since C-132 was the only one left out of all the available agents, Golden Skull Head went with him to the specified square. Searching uninhabited houses, the corpses of people who had been mercilessly executed were found. Tyrone Morton was found on a wooden door in the basement of one of the uninhabited summer houses. Cause of death was poisoning with yellow scorpion neurotoxin in the neck. Colin Howe was found decapitated, his body was not found, and his head was in a rusty oil barrel. Samuel Keith's body was found in a pool of cake blood, with torn tissue down to the bones of his back. There were marks from a knife used in a slaughterhouse for cutting up cattle carcasses. Halid Khan was found in a pile of bones, traces of gasoline and charcoal. Identification of the body was difficult. The body of Dalton Henry was found in the basement of a neighboring building, with his head smeared and in a twisted fetal position of agony. No traces of poisoning were found. Rowan Hickman was found alive in the basement in critical condition with a huge, shallow cut 5 centimeters deep, from right collarbone to left pelvic bone, no windows but with holes and bars. He was saved from bleeding and taken to hospital. Interrogation of the only survivor of the attack proved the theory that Crick and the Arthropod had been tooling around together all along. The dog was found on the rounds, with its head smashed in. The mongrel had died on the spot from a heavy blow to the skull with a rock. It was supposed that the barking of the dog provoked the two murderers to kill the unfortunate animal and throw the carcass into a shallow ditch. There was a great deal of wildlife in all the cellars, indicating that the arthropod had been present on the stage for some time. After getting pictures from the area indicated on the coordinates, Agent E-132 and Golden Skull left the scene for a short rest. These are the photos. After a couple hours of scorching sun and light rain, Agent E-132 and Golden Skullhead went to the stage again for more information. At 4:35 p.m., while the rain was easing, Agent E-132 and Golden Skullhead spotted Arthropod at the scene of the recent murders and turned on the camera and began filming the neutralization. This is the video.
Последний раз его засекли здесь. Данное видео будет существительным доказательством для агентства практики. Надеюсь, я смогу его. Так что сначала нам нужно смотреть место. По координатам, которым отправил нам тот человек, нам нужно подниматься ближе к тем заброшенным зданиям. Не забывай, что его труп надо сжечь со всеми его принадлежностями. Это видео будет напоминать только ваш вид. Убери его.
Ты не понимаешь последствий. Ну ладно. Я должен закончить то, что я начал. Сука, сын!
Что делаем с телом, сэр?
Кто это?
Стой! Стой на месте! Вы не представляете, что вы добились этим. Сначала ты разбудишь мрак. Arthropod упоминал об этом? Наверное. Вам конец!
Наконец-то там-то тебе будет намного интереснее.
Arthropod упоминал что-то про адапт. Надеюсь, с его смерти не начнется ничего похуже. За что говорит? Со мной хуже было. Откуда у него новый?
Наверное, купил. Если ты на психо мечтал.
Недавно осталось письменник была фраза. Правда меч, добавить мысли. Забыла. Идем с тобой днем.
Это старый дома.
At the conclusion of the mutilization, Arthropod and Scream were killed. After an hour, agents from all over the area began to confirm that the arthropods had become more passive and less aggressive. The aggressive predators had become more cautious and fearful, as had their herbivorous counterparts. The corpses of arthropod and Crib were burned and buried without tombstones in a stony field that was littered with garbage and construction debris, and the suits and accessories were doused with alcohol and finally hoovered in one of the abandoned houses. The swords were unfit for reuse and were discarded, having been broken into pieces by Agent E-132 talents. Resurveying the past crime scene areas, it was confirmed that the animals had become more passive and less aggressive. photo and video materials concerning Arthropod and his assistant were destroyed and erased from all existing archives, except for the utilization footage and the contents of the lost tapes left by Arthropod in various remote locations of the crimes. This incredible investigation has come to an end, but I'm sure we'll come across more. Head of the Golden Skull Darkness Project.